Today we're going to be talking about the 2028 presidential race and a hypothetical matchup between former Vice President Kamala Harris and current Vice President J.D. Vance. Now, if you take a look at this map that I've already put on the screen, you'll see that I have this map overall the way that the 2024 presidential race was set to shape out before those key battleground states of Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Georgia, Arizona, and Nevada were decided. I've decided for this video to do a similar situation where we're only focusing on those states for this video. I'm also not doing margins in this video as well, so if you're looking at this and saying, well, there's no way North Carolina is going to the Republicans or Democrats by 15 points, that's why. I'm not doing the margins in this video. So, with that said, let's hop into the video and talk about the state of Wisconsin. The state of Wisconsin's been really interesting, as a lot of these states have. It's one that Donald Trump won in 2016, lost in 2020, but won again in 2024. In 2028, I believe that this race is going to be very important to the national level and important to both candidates. But ultimately, I think J.D. Vance is going to win this race. I think given the margin back in 2024 going into 2028, this is going to be a significant victory for the vice president and his campaign to be the next president. With that said, let's move over to the state of Michigan. I think this is a more interesting and complex state that I think Kamala Harris actually might carry in a matchup like this. I think given the history of the state of Michigan and the way that it's performed and the way that we expect it to perform in the 2026 midterm elections, I believe that there's a real possibility that Kamala Harris wins the state of Michigan in the 2028 presidential race in this hypothetical matchup. That said, let's move over to the state of Pennsylvania. I think this state actually goes to J.D. Vance, similar to 2024, and by a very slim margin. I think J.D. Vance narrowly carries the state, but ultimately, I think he'll win it, and he will get those 19 electoral votes from the state of Pennsylvania. That said, let's move down to North Carolina, another state that Donald Trump actually won in 2016, 2020, and 2024. In 2028, I think Republicans still carry the state of North Carolina. The 2026 midterms are going to be significant, where Roy Cooper is likely to win that Senate race here, but ultimately I don't think Republicans are quite to the point that they lose this on the presidential level. And with that said, we have 3 races left to talk about in this very short video. The next state that I want to take a look at is the state of Georgia, the one that flipped for the first time in years back in 2020. Joe Biden won this state, but in 2024, Kamala Harris wasn't quite able to carry the state. 2028 is going to be very interesting, especially depending on who she might pick as her running mate. Say she picks someone like Jon Ossoff, that could absolutely help her carry this over the top. For reasons that I think we have to look at on this national level and look at the history of the state, I'm going to say that actually Kamala Harris wins the state of Georgia in the 2028 presidential race. The state of Georgia, if you look at the most recent Fox polling, it's like the biggest state expected to go to Democrats in the 2026 midterms, Jon Ossoff winning that by a pretty significant margin. If that continues, Kamala Harris may in fact win the state of Georgia, but lose some of these other states like Wisconsin and Pennsylvania. For that reason, I think that there's a good chance that Kamala Harris actually carries the state of Georgia in the 2028 presidential race. That said, let's move over to the state of Nevada, the state that flipped to Donald Trump in 2024, but before that had been gone to the Democrats, both in 2016 and in 2020. I think 2028, Democrats carry this state yet again. I think this state's going to be very significant on the national level and the national profile, and I think we're going to get a lot in this race in the 2026 midterms with that governor's race in the state of Nevada as well, which I haven't talked about much on my channel, but I plan to in the near future. With that said, I ultimately believe Democrats would carry the state of Nevada in this hypothetical matchup and giving them another 6 electoral votes on the national level, putting Kamala Harris at 263 electoral votes to J.D. Vance's 264, leaving the only state to decide this race to Arizona. This race is significant. It's the one that went to Donald Trump by one of the biggest margins of a swing state back in 2024. I think 2028 is going to be slightly similar, and I think JD Vance ultimately wins the state of Arizona. I don't believe it's by anything significant, any huge margin, but I ultimately believe that JD Vance carries the state of Arizona in this 2028 matchup and ultimately wins the presidential race in this matchup, giving JD Vance 275 electoral votes to Kamala Harris's 263. Now, of course, with that said, let me know what you think in the comments below. Do you believe that this matchup is realistic, and do you believe that Republicans ultimately win the presidential race, or do you believe that Kamala Harris could come in and win states like Pennsylvania and Wisconsin, giving her enough electoral votes to win this race? Let me know what you think in the comments below. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to the channel. I'll see you guys in the next video.